You're watching the Sports Central Podcast.
We're 2 weeks out from the World Cup. As a broadcaster, as a fan of the game, but I guess most importantly, someone who played in the World Cup, like, what are the emotions as we inch closer?
I feel like it's hard at times to separate being a fan, right? Because before anything else, before I ever kicked the ball, before I ever picked up a mic, I was a fan. I was a fan of this sport. I was a fan of our U.S. men's national team. And now to come full circle, to go from being a fan to a player, now I'm retired, I'm on the broadcast side, and I get to enjoy all three roles in some capacity this summer. It's incredible. I'm excited because I think back to 1994, the last time the World Cup was in this country. I was 8 years old. And while I never actually went to a game, my dad took me to all the activations around the stadiums, around the Rose Bowl. And, you know, I come from two Nigerian parents where football or soccer is our sport.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they live and breathe. I grew up an Arsenal fan, so I know in England they're passionate about this game. But, you know, in a weird way, I was still naive to how global the game was. But seeing the fans at those activations from different countries, different continents, all here, all united, celebrating this sport in their own unique ways, but sharing that same passion for the game, it just really opened my eyes to, like, wow, this is really the globe's, this is really the world's game. And now fast forward, here we are, the biggest World Cup we're going to ever have, 48 teams, first time that we're having 3 host nations, and I get to play a role in that. I get to have my voice attached to games. I get to be in stadiums, go to all 3 countries, and then the kind of maybe the cherry on top is I now have kids, and I get to share this experience with my own kids and let them enjoy a World Cup in a similar capacity to how I did in '94. It's honestly a full circle moment that I need to maybe bottle this all up right now and enjoy it, because the next month is going to be pretty grueling with work. But it's just an incredible experience, and our players are so fortunate that they have this opportunity in front of them.
I think you hit the most important point is being a dad and taking yourself back to 1994 when you're 8 years old, and just how, you know, I remember just growing up, like, loving football and, like, knowing that, like, those were the moments that I decided what I wanted to do with my life, right? Like, I have to imagine for you, you grew up in a soccer household, but that World Cup moment, to then play in a World Cup and then have that full circle moment to where you get to share it with your family, has got to be priceless.
So if you would have asked me when I was a kid, what do you want to be? I used to always say I either wanted to be a pro soccer player or I wanted to be an actor. And in some way, the two, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, so yeah, it's a full circle moment that I'm very fortunate. If you would have asked me this when I was playing, hey, do you see yourself, first of all, being an analyst, a broadcaster? And I'm like, no, I'm going to play for about 30 years. I'm going to be the first player to play into his 60s as a professional. That's where my mind was tuned in. But when I found this space, you know, I've really enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's opened up so many doors and opportunities that I've been fortunate to experience. We were in Qatar in 2022 for the World Cup there. And, you know, being in Qatar, and to me, that was the greatest final we've ever seen, with France and Argentina. But there's just nothing like a home World Cup. You know, 1994, it came and it went, and I thought, wow, this was incredible, but I'll never experience that again. And when it was announced that we were going to be a co-host for the World Cup, I mean, I was excited. I was just salivating at what it was going to feel like and properly experience it. Because at 8 years old, you have memories, but you're not
it's there, but
you didn't. It had an impact on me, no doubt about it. But I talked to some of the guys who played in that tournament. You know, guys like Kobe Jones and Marcelo Balboa, Alexi Lawless, and they all talk about it was a life-changing moment. Like, they are in the position they're in today because of that World Cup. And so I parlay that into the conversation of, you know, expectation for this group and what's at stake for them. There will be pressure, no doubt about it, but this is what better set of pressure circumstances do you want than to have a World Cup, an opportunity on your home soil to inspire that next generation of athletes who want to dream. And I say athletes because it's not just soccer players. You're inspiring athletes. You put on that U.S. crest, and you're representing more than just yourself or your family name on the back. You have a chance to inspire a whole nation of dreamers and watch the support galvanize with every step of the way. So I say that with a smile, man, because I'm like, I'm just speaking it into existence, but I'm so encouraged and it's just excited about what this summer is going to be like.
When we talk about pressure being a privilege, like this is exactly what it is. And this United States team, it's perfect timing. Just announced 13 newcomers, 13 returners. Your initial thoughts when you saw the roster?
My initial thoughts, it's hard to like not get caught up in snubs and who's not there and who is there. But
we were talking about call or email after too, and like how big of a deal that was.
So it's different. It's different, the process now, because these guys are coming into camp knowing who's going to the World Cup. My experience was different. We came into camp and the roster, let me go back and answer your question first of all. My initial reaction was, okay, when I saw the way that it was broken down, 10 defenders, I think it's 4 midfielders, 6 attackers, is my math right there? Maybe I'm off, or I don't know. Anyway,
close enough.
Yeah, in and around there. My initial reaction was like, okay, this is kind of setting the stage as to what tactics we're going to play. You're taking 10 defenders, 5 center backs, 2 other players who can play as center backs. To me, that says, yeah, we're more than likely going to go back to playing 3 in the back, 3 center backs. And 3-4-3 would probably be the tactics that we play. And then when you talk about guys who aren't there, yeah, there's always, I don't remember a World Cup cycle where the roster was announced and there weren't some like head scratchers or question marks as to why is this player not there? Why is this player there? I remember 2014, the World Cup that I got cut from. When I got the news, I remember just like, oh, I'm the biggest snub that's happening. A few minutes later, Landon got cut. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a real snub. That's a real snub that's happening. But you know what? This is the reality of sports. Coaches make decisions, and it's about the guys that are a part of that group. How do you come together? How do you weed out all the outside noise and you focus on the moment? You know, it's a celebratory moment for those 26 guys that are going to the tournament. And now the onus is on them. The onus is on them to go out there and deliver performances that give us something to cheer on. What I was going to point out was it's a little bit different because they know the 26-man roster.
Yeah.
We went into camp with 30 guys that was going to get cut down to 23. So it was a little bit different. You had that one final, I guess, audition per se, where I think we played one game, we made the cuts, and then we had another game before we took off. So, you know, you go into camp, you've made that initial roster, and you're eager to impress. We're doing fitness tests, it's like I'm dying out there. I had just come back from injury, so in my mind, I was like, I need to make sure that I remind this coach why I was a part of this team beforehand. And, you know, I was fortunate, I made that call, or I made that cut, and we go to South Africa, and the rest is history. But I know these guys, the emotions that you have in that moment, the relief, the excitement, and there's also a moment where you think about your guys, your teammates who weren't there, the guys that were a part of the cycle leading up to this, and you go about that however you feel you need to, if it's a call, a text, whatever that is. But the focus quickly shifts. These guys are in Atlanta now, training, getting ready for the games coming up this weekend, and that's just how quickly the cycle and the process works.
So whether you're a casual fan or an avid soccer fan, I mean, you know the names, Pulisic, McKennie. Like, what is this team in your eyes in 2026? Who are the maybe players that we're not talking about right now that maybe we will be talking about into June?
Matt Freese. You know, it's a name. The goalkeeping position has always been one of our strengths. And I hate to call it a weakness now, but it's an area where there's question marks. Matt Freese has been the guy that's been in goal the most over the last year and a half, 2 years. And so I say his name because there's going to be pivotal moments where we need good goalkeeping to keep us in games, to make the difference in games. You go back to that game, and was it 2014, the Tim Howard Belgium game, right? Like, we're in that game and have a chance solely because Tim is standing on his head and just making save after save after save after save. There might be a moment like that for Matt Freese, whether it's in the group stage, whether it's in the knockout rounds, if we get to a quarterfinal, which is what I'm hoping for, maybe it's in that round. So goalkeeping is always going to be a position where there's a spotlight on you. It's a lonely position at times, but it's also a moment for you to be a hero. So I would say he's one. Gio Reyna, what is his role going to be, right? Some people didn't have him making this roster. when I did my little mock draft up, I actually had him as part of it. I had him on it. I also had Diego Luna on it. But my thinking there is, I think we're going to win the group and get out of the group stage. As I said, I hope that we get to a quarterfinal. And when we get to that stage, I want as many difference makers at my disposal as possible.
Sure.
If I'm a coach and I have my starting 11, it's not going well, I need to make changes. We're chasing a game, or we're at a 0-0, 1-1, and we need that go-ahead goal. I want to look at my bench and say, whew, I've got a diversity of different attacking players that I can bring on to change this narrative. So I would have had him on my roster, and although he's not a name that's unknown, but it's one that was kind of in the dark somewhat because of injuries and just being out of the picture, and now he has a great opportunity to step in and, again, what his role is, whether it's a starter, off the bench, significant minutes off the bench, few minutes, when his name is called upon, can he be ready to rise up and show why he's a part of this group?
Home soil, right? That little edge, maybe it's a big edge. The fact that a lot of these games are going to be in the United States. You played in South Africa. Could you envision that team playing in front of, at the Rose Bowl, let's say? How much of a difference is home field advantage in a World Cup?
Honestly, I think it's everything, man. I don't want to be hyperbolic here in the way that I describe it, but there's enough history out there when you look at the home nations in World Cups and how they perform. And the one I always go back to is 2002, South Korea. Funny enough, it's one of our best runs as well. But if you would have looked at that South Korean team and told me they're going to get to a semifinal, I would have laughed you out of the conversation. Like, just shut up. You're just wasting my time talking. But that's the power of playing at home, right? And for this group of players where there's so much talent and we put so much expectation on them, and I'm sure they have that same level of expectations on themselves, where else would you want to do it? Like, where else would you want to be but to have friends and family, the comforts of just being in your home nation, the way that you're going to have home support. I remember being in South Africa, in every game, you could feel the support that we had at home. Obviously, we had fans that traveled, we had friends and family in the stands, but you could feel the support just via social media, different outlets that were providing images and scenes of what was happening back here. But there was a distance, there was a separation, but we could still feel that connection and that energy with the fans. So imagine all that surrounding you every day, right? You're not having to see it on social media. You're walking out of your hotel and you can feel that energy. You're walking into home stadiums and you're surrounded by U.S. fans. That audience is growing and growing as you continue to progress in the tournament. To me, that truly is, if you ask me, give me all the pieces you need to make a successful run, playing at home would definitely be one of them.
You've probably answered this so many times, but I guess it's appropriate because it's World Cup season, right? 2010.
Yes, sir.
That disallowed goal.
Woo!
How does that stick with you? How does that sit with you in 2026?
Man.
And does the fact that it's the World Cup, does it bring up memories or feelings?
Of course. I'd love to say that I'm over it. I joke with Landon and I tell him, you owe me. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you owe me, because if my goal counted, yours would have been irrelevant. But no, all jokes aside, it's, I wish there was an answer. I wish VAR existed back then. We would have had
I watched it a couple of days ago because I knew we were going to talk. And just to hear the broadcasters, they were so furious. And I imagine if social media was what it was in 2010 versus 2026, it'd be a whole different ballgame.
It really would have been. Honestly, it's crazy, right? Because that moment, that was the moment I had dreamt of as a kid, right? To have my mom and my brother in the stands. I knew exactly where they were. Landon plays a beautiful ball in. Ball hits the back of the net. There's no question or concern on my part as to any kind of infringement, foul, nothing, offside, no way. Then that whistle blows, and then everything just comes to a screeching halt, and I'm like, and I guess the part that sticks with you is you don't know what the call even was. But I mean, listen, it produced more drama. It created more attention for our team.
It did.
More people tuned in because of that controversy, and it set the stage for such a pivotal and iconic moment with Landon's goal against Algeria. And, you know, to be a part of that team, it's not an individual event. Like, that would have been a special moment for me and my family, and would have had significance in that game. Would have been a historic comeback. But ultimately, things played out the way they were supposed to, right? Like, being a part of that group and the journey we went on, the qualifying cycle to get to that point, the English media posting the acronym EASY to describe the group with us in it, and, you know, ultimately we win that group. It was a beautiful thing. So although I'm still salty about that moment, there's so many moments that happened throughout that tournament that helped to overshadow that and create different special memories for us.
I love the answer because you have this profound perspective of, like, yeah, it sucked not to get the goal, but the amount of eyeballs that it brought to our team, not just me, but our team, I feel like that's the perfect encapsulation of what it means to be representing your country in the United States, man.
1000%, man. So I think Twitter was probably like the most popular platform at that time, and the amount of messages we got after every game, right? From fans, from celebrities reaching out, just like, dude, we're locked in with you guys, we're there with you guys. The support just kept growing from game to game to game. That moment happens, and it was just like this flood of people because, you know, big moments or controversial moments, they still headlines. And that, I guess that's how it played out here back home domestically. But it is about the team. You know, it's not about the name on the back of your jersey. It's about wearing that crest. And it's an honor. It's an honor and a privilege, and it's something that you don't take for granted whatsoever. I played that World Cup, and I thought, you know what, this is the start. I'm going to play in another one, 2014. I can't wait. 4 years later, I'm going to be more mature, at a better place in everything, life, career, my game, that I'll play in another World Cup. Wasn't to be, right? But I don't look back and say, oh, I left anything out there because I was hoping for the next one. No, I left it all out there in 2010, but I was dreaming of 2014 as well. And I just use that example to say that that next moment in that shirt is not guaranteed. You don't know when your next call-up is going to be, so you got to savor every opportunity and play like it's your last. And that just speaks to what you're talking about, playing for something bigger than yourself. Like, you have people tuning in and living and breathing with every moment. What you're doing is what you're passionate about. You're playing a sport you're passionate about, but you're representing so many more people who are all locked in and being inspired and being driven, and maybe you provide that one spark of happiness throughout the course of their day after a grueling day of work where they've had this and that, fought with this person, got into a confrontation with this person, and they're able to tune in and take away that stress for a moment and celebrate and feel like they're bought in and they're a part of that process, that journey, that fight. Those are the things that encapsulates putting on that U.S. jersey, you know? And that's the challenge for these players in this tournament, to go out there and fight, scrap. You know, so many of us would die to be in that same position, so go out there and savor those moments.
It's what makes the World Cup so beautiful. A couple quick hitters before I get you out of here, Mo. Outside the U.S., just the dark horse country that maybe could do some things that maybe not a lot of people are talking about right now.
I would love to see one of the African teams do something special. Morocco got to a semifinal in 2022. I'd love to see them, or Senegal. Nigeria's not in it, so I'd love to see one of those two. And then, you know, there's a couple of teams that have never won World Cups but have kind of just always been so close. I think Colombia has a strong team, and I think they could really turn some heads and surprise some people.
Ronaldo, how's this going to end for him?
Oh, man. Well, unfortunately, my pick to win the World Cup is France, so it's not going to end well for Ronaldo. But, man, I'd love to see, you know, a special tournament for him. What an iconic player. You talk about determination, the longevity that he's had in his career, like himself and Messi. It's so crazy when you think about how long the two of them were at the top of this sport. First of all, staying healthy in itself for that level of consistency is crazy. But yeah, unfortunately, I see France winning this tournament. But I think Portugal will make a deep run.
All right, that was one of the questions. So France is winning it all. How do they do it? Who's it against?
Ooh, man, I got to think about who my bracket was and how it. So all of the top four teams are all put in their own. They can't meet each other until the semifinal. So I think I had Spain and France meeting in a semi, and on the opposite side, it was Argentina and something. So let's say it's Argentina. Let's say it's a rematch.
How about
Let's say it's a
that?
rematch.
Could it get any better?
Oh my God.
I don't think it can.
I don't know, man, because like I said,
It's a
that
lot to
last
live
World
up
Cup
to.
final was Mbappe scores a hat trick in a final, in a World Cup final, and loses. Like, but it was written, man. Argentina, Messi, he needed that moment. He didn't need that moment, but he needed that moment.
Yeah. Final thing for you with the U.S. What's their ceiling in this tournament? We talked about home soil. We talked about some difference makers. It's a 50-50 split of new guys and guys who have been there before. What do you think?
Do you know what? This is going to sound naive, and it's going to show my American
Please,
bias. It's going to show my
please.
American bias. But I mean, if you set a ceiling, that means that they can't overcome. They can't go beyond that point. So the ceiling is winning the World Cup, right? Like that has to be the ceiling you set for yourself, and say like, because if you set it any lower than that, then you're kind of stripping away not your goal, but you're minimizing yourself.
Sure.
Right. So like. And I know people are going to sit here and say there's no chance the U.S. have to win the World Cup. Okay, well, sports are not played on paper, right? Sports are played when you walk across that white line and you leave everything out there and you compete and you put yourself in a position to succeed. And you know, maybe a bounce goes your way here or there, or you create that bounce going here or there. Now, I'm a dreamer. I'm a glass half full guy. So I'm going to set the ceiling at winning the World Cup. Now, what are my expectations? I think they get to a quarterfinal, and then we dream from there.
Okay.
Because on home soil, that support
And
can
then
go a
anything's
long way.
possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where are your travels going to take you here over the next couple of weeks? And do you know your assignments at this point?
Yes and no. So next couple of weeks, I'll go to both of the send-off games for the U.S. So I'll be in Charlotte for the game against Senegal. And then I'll be in Chicago for the game against Germany, which, you know, two tough opponents, top 10 ranked teams. So those are going to be special games, but exciting games. And then once the World Cup kicks off, man, I'm excited because it's 3 nations, right? And I'm going to touch all 3 nations. I'll be in Mexico calling a few games. I will be in Canada for, I think, at least 1 game. And then, of course, I'll be in the States. So, yeah, I'll be across the continent enjoying everything that each of the host nations has to offer and just taking in some beautiful games, man, some beautiful matches and beautiful fans.
You got to take a breath and just let it all sink in, man. You've earned this opportunity from a kid in 1994 watching this thing to playing in it to now broadcasting it. Pretty special.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be special is the best way to describe it, and looking forward to experiencing it, but sharing in the moment with my kids as well and my family.
Maurice Edu, you're the man.
My man,
Appreciate you joining
brother.
me.
Yes, sir.